I've said over and over again that cottage gardeners were traditionally people who didn't have a lot of money. And in fact, they were very poor peasants in the very beginning. So they grew as many things as they could vertically. Primroses, calendulas. There were some plants that did not grow vertically, that they grew as herbs to begin with. But this squash is a plant that will grow vertically. The problem is I didn't realize that I had a squash plant, a crookneck yellow squash fruit or vegetable already produced down at the base of that mass of growth. A cottage garden is kind of like an Easter egg hunt because things grow so close together that sometimes you lose track of where things are. And that this squash plant is one thing, is like that. I always, after I finish a video, sometime, maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight, I will see the beautiful blooms. And so many of these vegetables I grow in fact, I started growing pumpkins simply to watch them grow. And squash and pumpkins are all in the same family. But later tonight, I'll make a video about the different kinds of squash, how crookneck squash, a lot of, and pumpkins. Often, some pumpkins are called squash, winter squash. I'll make a video about that later. Earlier this morning, I saw this little squash growing beneath its leaves at the back of my flower bed. Again and again, I'll say I'm a cottage or a kitchen gardener, and I grow my vegetables and my flowers close together. But the way to cut, this is a young squash, and it's young. See it, it's young, but it is cutting size. It's going to be hard to cut it because it's so close to the stem. But what I'll do is I'll take a knife and I'll slice this squash away from the rest without damaging the plant. And then it's time to go in and wash it, rinse it, trim off the ends, peel it, slice it, and then soak it. I soak my squash in salt water for an hour or two before I cook it. And then it's time for an egg bath and saltine crackers, bacon grease, and a sliced tomatoes, and a bit of summer served on a plate. Okay, back inside, I've cut my little crookneck squash, and I've already trimmed off one end, and I've trimmed off the other end. The next thing I need to do is I need to slice or to peel this, at least for this particular recipe. Not for everything, but I'm going to peel. In fact, I wouldn't even, this is such a tender little squash that I wouldn't even have to peel this one for this, but I'm going to show you how I peel it. I'm actually cutting a little bit more of the flesh, the outside away than I would like to, but I'm going to peel this. Okay, let's see if we can, let me say something about squash. It's like everything else. There is a window of opportunity for harvesting squash. You need to get them while they're fresh and tender, but because old squash are like old goats. They're hard and they're hairy. Well, they're not hairy, but they're not pleasant. And an old tough squash is better for a club than it is for to eat. Okay, now I'm gonna trim these squash pieces into about a 1/4 inch slices. And then I'm gonna rinse this again. And then I'm gonna soak these pieces in a salt bath. I'll take just some regular water and I'll add salt. I don't know, goodness, how much, just enough salt. I'll do what my mother did and I'll just pinch it and throw it in there. Doesn't have to be exact, but it's just a way to make it extra. Look in there, you see the little seeds? That. If you wait long enough, I guess you could just turn it into seed for next year. But no, I'm gonna eat this. Okay. When I was a child, my mother was a great cook. My dad was the gardener, and his mother, my grandmother, was the flower gardener. She also had a huge strawberry patch, but my mother was a fabulous Southern cook, which meant that she had no problem. In fact, she preferred, or I guess it's just the way it happened, to after this is soaked in salt for just a bit, she would take an egg, crack the egg in a bowl, whip it, and then she would take at least half of a sleeve of saltine crackers. I prefer Zesta, but whatever, just saltines. And then she would roll those with her rolling pin and make a cracker meal, a cracker dust. And she would dip it into the egg and then roll it in the cracker meal, the cracker dust. And while she was doing that, she would have a black iron skillet on the stove where she was heating some bacon grease. Yes, I grew up eating foods fried in bacon grease, and I would say most Southerners did. Now I don't even cook bacon, so I don't have any bacon grease, so I'll probably opt for canola oil or even olive oil. I cook things in olive oil now. But anyway, so you could do whatever, but I would have that grease hot, so hot that if you drop a little tad of water into it, it would go. That's the time to cook. And then so that the squash dipped in egg, rolled in cracker meal, fried till it's brown on both sides. It's almost the same way you fry green tomatoes, except I don't think my mother used cracker crumbs. I think she used flour for that. And by the way, I think she may have used a little bit of flour with the saltines, a little bit of flour. The flour kind of holds the egg and holds the meal, and the flour attaches to the egg and then kind of holds that meal and that cracker crumb on there. So that's how I think we will do this. Be sure and salt it and pepper it. Don't cook old squash. They're better weapons than they are food. And that's how I'm going to make this squash.